Good evening. Welcome to the April 24th, 2023 special meeting of the Stillwater City Council. This time I will call the meeting to order and we will jump right in with general orders. Item 2A is JCI presentation regarding a performance-based efficiency contract. Melissa Reams is here to kick us off.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Melissa Reams, Deputy City Manager and Chief Financial Officer, before you this evening to present a synopsis of the Johnson Controls performance-based energy contract and the related tax-exempt lease purchase financing proposal from Bank of America. The presentation will outline the proposed scope of work timeline, project costs, and associated annual project benefits. The financing portion will highlight the differences between a GO bond funding and a tax-exempt lease purchase funding arrangement and the associated debt schedules. So, to jump in, the first scope of work is titled HVAC. And in the, I think you all had the performance document sent to you, the contract for your review. These are referred to as Facility Improvement Measures, FIMs. And this HVAC encompasses FIM 1, 4, 6, 7, and 8. And essentially, it is the replacement of 20-year-old HVAC equipment at the municipal building and at the library. And you can see there the units that are listed out: the chillers, the boilers, the cooling towers and their pumps, the air handling units, and at the library, I believe there are heat pumps there. Next, we have building controls. We are asking Johnson Controls to come in and replace our existing control panels here in the municipal building. They are going to, this allows us to set the temperature at a regulated rate that would not change necessarily. And there are some best practice temperatures that they have targeted in the performance contract. At the library, what fits that building better are programmable thermostats. The next is the one, I think one of the ones we're really excited about is the LED upgrades. And you can see that we have facility lighting. Facility lighting includes interior and exterior lighting, anything attached to the building. There are 35 sites involved in that refit and replacement. And then the exterior lighting, that is the street lights, the security lights that we rent out to people through the SUA, and any of those associated systems. The total for those street lights is 4,372 lights, and it does include the lighting at the interchange of I-35 and State Highway 51. Water efficiency.
Can I ask why?
Why?
Why is that highway interchange lighting?
12 miles out of town.
Why in the world is that in this project?
That's an agreement that was entered into by the city with ODOT probably 10 years ago. That
lighting is our...
Yes, our responsibility. We pay that bill every month.
Into perpetuity,
Wow.
I believe.
They're great lights. I just didn't know we were responsible for them.
That is news to me. Wow. Okay. Cool.
The things you learn. Okay, so street lighting. Now we're to water efficiency. And this is our consumption of water. So think toilets, bathroom faucets, shower heads, ice machines, and dishwashers. And JCI is going to come in and institute some efficiency measures, and it's really a reduction of water consumption. Envelope improvements. We are going to get out there and weatherize our old buildings as best we can with replacement weather stripping, caulking, and sealing any kind of pipe penetrations through the building. Water meters. This is, instead of cost avoidance, this is a revenue generation technique that we're looking at. 35 customers in total will be affected by this. We are looking at large water meters, 2, 3, 4, and 6 inch water meters. They will be evaluated, either replaced with a new water meter. If the meter can be repaired, we'll send it off to be repaired and then reinstalled. And then they're going to go back and type the meters, make sure that we have the proper size meter and type for each customer that they're looking at, so that we get the most of efficiency out of these meters.
So this assumes that we're undercharging certain accounts because of inaccurate meters.
Correct. The older the meters get, the less efficient they are. And JCI, in their proposal, has used a 98.5% accuracy rating for these meters. So I'll stop there. If there's any questions right now about the scope of work.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
On the streetlights,
Mm-hmm.
there was discussion about they were addressable and they could be controlled and they could be dimmed. Is that correct? So tell me more about that. You might want to invite JCI up to
I think
to
I
discuss
will
that.
invite Caleb to come up. I believe that is part of the automation controls that we're putting in.
So you asked for Caleb and I'm gonna get Craig.
We asked for one, get two.
Right.
So streetlights are addressable by computer, I take it, and they can be adjusted as far as brightness.
Correct.
So tell me what the plan is. Are you going to turn them down at midnight? I mean, tell me how this works.
Just like a normal street light that might have a photo cell attached to it normally. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Just like a normal street light that might have a photo cell attached to it normally. So dawn to dusk control. This goes a little bit beyond that and future-proofs you guys. If you ever want to do additional sensing throughout the city to either track traffic patterns, gunshot detection, those sorts of things as well. So really it's just a networked device that allows you to do certain things. But right now it's pretty much just dimming and turning on and off.
So back to the dimming issue. Are we ever going to be at 50% brightness, or are we going to be 0 and 100?
It's pretty much 0 to 100. There's going to be certain instances, though, where you can, if necessary, trim them. So that's the cool thing about LEDs today, is you want to trim the light level to the exact level that you need for that particular spot.
Okay.
So every light will be trimmed as necessary.
And this will apply to all the different types of streetlights we have in our streets.
Yes.
So I saw Acorn and Overhead and all those. All those will be converted to LED and will be adjustable.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to project benefits. We have summarized the financial savings of each one of the projects every 5 years. There is information we can send you that shows the granular annual savings. But for water meters, this again is increased revenue. It is not cost avoidance. And we're looking at, hopefully over the 20 years, $2.7 million in increased revenue. Operations and maintenance, this is a cost avoidance number. And over the 20 years, we're looking at $10.6 million there. Utilities, electric, and water utilities, electric, water, and gas savings. And again, this is cost avoidance, estimating $8.7 million over the 20-year period. The total cost of this project is broken down into its components. So you have facility lighting at 1.5 million, exterior lighting at 4.6 million, HVAC replacement at 6.2 million, building envelope of about 425,000, and then the water at 438,000, for a total of 3.52 million. So how are we going to fund these projects?
Well, actually, more questions there, if I might.
Okay.
So on the O&M, the operation and maintenance. So this is reducing the cost of maintenance because we're replacing old units with new that won't take as much maintenance. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
correct. Okay. So now funding and timeline. We wanted to look at this new or new to us, new to our city, tax-exempt lease purchase, and comparing it to something we're familiar with, which is a general obligation bond. And you can see some of the differences there. Still a really good product, and it does allow us a little more flexibility than a GO bond issue would. It is a hybrid. The more I started working with this, I concluded this definitely was a hybrid financing vehicle. It has features of a lease, so our our appropriations are limited to 1 year or one term, and the renewals are subject to budget appropriation. They must be appropriated. And it is not considered statutory debt, so it should hopefully not have an impact on our GO bond rating. But then it has features of a loan. It allows us to get the money up front. The interest income is tax exempt to the bank, and they're more than likely, I would think, going to resell these as investment vehicles. And then we, as the customer, we still take the title and the ownership, and unfortunately, the risk of loss to the equipment that we bought. And I really love this graphic. JCI provided this to us because I think we were having a hard time understanding the flow of cash the last time we talked. The city is going to establish a line of credit with Bank of America, and we're going to borrow those funds incrementally based on the draw schedule that's contained within the performance contract. And then Johnson Controls is going to be the one requesting those draws. So the money will flow to us, and then we'll pay Johnson Controls. Once we get to the cap of $13,520,000, then the debt service payments start back towards the Bank of America. But we have that underlying guarantee of savings from Johnson Controls. So they should shore up any gaps that might occur between the savings and what we are paying in principal and interest. And this is the bond or the note amortization schedule from Bank of America out of their proposal, their funding proposal. It is a 20-year amortization with annual payments, and the interest rate is 3.735.
So, question on that.
Yes.
Last time it was mentioned that we had to rush and get this closed to get that rate. Are we still good on that rate?
We are still good on this rate. Thanks to our partner JCI, they went back to Bank of America and they extended the date to sign the term sheet until tomorrow. So that allowed us to come in and have our discussion and then make an informed decision, and we can sign that term sheet tomorrow.
No pressure.
And Bank of America is not on the state of Oklahoma no business list.
It is not on the naughty list from what we can tell.
All right, thank you.
So the next question may be, well, with all of this good revenue, increase in revenue and cost avoidance, and yet I see the payments going out, how much does this really benefit the city over the 20 years? And if you take the difference between the total savings through revenue and a cost avoidance, and then you look at just the total payments, we should expect to see a $1.5 million increase in available budget dollars over 20 years.
It's that total savings and revenue. I know, I understand the idea of if we don't hit certain marks or if we don't have the same savings that is predicted, that we would be reimbursed by JCI. Is that, so the 21.9 million, that's what we're projecting in terms of savings and revenue, and that's what, if we didn't hit those marks, that there'd be a reimbursement so that we would hit those marks.
Correct. These are fairly conservative savings calculations, and they, for all intents and purposes, they will service the debt for us. And per the state statute, that was one of the criteria that we had to meet.
Thank you.
So timeline. how long is it going to take us once we enter into this agreement? How long and in what order are these projects going to be completed? We anticipate that the project start date would be around the time that we anticipate closing the loan with Bank of America, which is January 14th of 2023. So that would mean hopefully the project would begin within a couple of days of that closing on the financing. For this discussion, we're using June 16th of 2023. The projects will be completed in basically this order. The building improvements, the building envelope improvements will start, and then the interior and exterior facility lighting retrofit, the domestic water retrofit, then the large meters, water meters and meter typing, and then we get to the street light and security light and their controls. And then during the fall, winter months, we're going to tackle the HVAC systems when it's a little cooler and we can get in there and hopefully live without heating or cooling for a few days while they're changing out the pumps and the cooling towers and all of that. And then lastly, it will be the air control upgrades, so that computerized control system that's going to control the temperatures within the building.
Melissa, I think I heard you say that there was a start date of January 2023. I think you meant
I
June.
meant June. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Yes, I misspoke. And so this will be completed around the 1st of March of 2025.
All right, so my sheet here says questions.
Mm-hmm.
What can go wrong with this? What's our biggest risk here? I mean, you might want to look over your shoulder and see if they can help you with
What
this.
they
I'm
might
really
can.
curious, what can go wrong here?
First off, I think that they could have missed their estimate,
Okay,
because we didn't, we've relied on them to do the math, and you saw the calculations contained within the performance contract. The mitigator to that risk is the performance guarantee. So if they've missed their mark, they're going to make us whole. So we shouldn't be on the hook for debt that, we potentially might not have the financing for.
okay.
It could be, there is a risk there, a trust factor there, that the equipment that they are using to replace the existing equipment is of a quality that we would anticipate. And so that could be open for discussion, but this is all based on their proposal.
Well, with the equipment, we still have to maintain our old equipment anyway, so
Right.
hopefully the new equipment will have less cost there. One other question was, I saw animal welfare was included in this.
Mhm.
We're hoping to do new animal welfare. Can we delay that to the end of the
Yes,
thing
I
and possibly not do it?
Well, I had some other people ask me about the concession stands out at Sanborn Lake, because we're hoping that road is going to go up through there. And based on the conditions within the contract, we can, with 90-day notice, pull different facilities off the list, and they will make an adjustment to the baseline.
Okay.
Further questions, counselors?
I assume that we've had people at the city that have also looked at the numbers in terms of benchmarks and things like that, and we're comfortable, we feel confident with those?
We have had an internal review of the numbers. The numbers were gathered from our staff, so there shouldn't have been much of an adjustment there.
Okay.
And from my accounting side of the brain, the math worked. Now, whether it's on an engineering side, it makes sense.
So in the contract, in section 10, under hazardous materials, as it relates to asbestos specifically, I just want to tell you how I interpreted this and see if I'm understanding it correctly. Number one, we have to certify that buildings that are older than 1982 are asbestos-free. And if they're not asbestos-free, we have to identify its presence and where it exists. And the city's responsible to mitigate asbestos that is disturbed, even if we've disclosed that it's there and they disturb it, we're responsible for mitigating it.
So
that
that's an
correct?
unforeseen cost, and that could be a risk, as to Counselor Hardin's question.
Because that expense would be significant.
Yeah.
Come on up.
We need to hear you at the microphone.
We received your asbestos reports from the city, and we really don't anticipate any problems with the scope of work that we're impacting.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have asbestos reports for every structure?
Most of them we did.
Sorry. Just when you got back to your chair.
No, that's okay.
Most of them we did, and most of the scope really shouldn't have it and too much of an asbestos impact that we're worried about.
Okay, thank you.
What else, counselors? Melissa, do you have a recommendation
I
for
do.
us?
I do. So based on the work of the Renewable Energy Task Force and staff review, staff recommends entering into a performance-based efficiency contract with Johnson Controls and the related financing agreement with the Bank of America.
Counselors, questions, comments, action on the staff's recommendation?
Motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the staff's recommendation to enter into these contracts. Is there any further discussion? Please vote. That item is approved with a vote of 5-0.
Thank you
We
very
appreciate
much.
all of the additional work to make sure everybody understand exactly what was happening with all of these contracts, and I'm excited to enter into a new funding mechanism for our community to get these projects done. Thanks again to the Renewable Energy Task Force for their help with this project as well.
And to JCI for coming back,
Absolutely.
which wasn't on their calendar, I'm sure.
All right, item 3 is reports from officers and boards. Ms. Carnley.
Request for an executive session pursuant to 25 OS Section 307B1 of the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act for the purpose of confidential communications to discuss the consideration of specific current employees for the appointment of an interim city manager following the retirement of City Manager Norman McNichol, including determining the compensation for the interim city manager.
Thank you. Mr. McNichol, anything from you?
No,
Counselors, any announcements? At this time, I would hear a motion to enter executive session.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to enter executive session for the reasons stated by the city attorney. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council will now enter executive session. We are back. Is there a motion to reconvene the Stillwater City Council in regular session?
Motion to reconvene.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to reconvene the Stillwater City Council. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, Stillwater City Council is now back in regular session. Are there any motions coming out of executive session?
I move to appoint Brady Moore as interim city manager with an increase of 15% over his regular salary during the interim appointment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Brady Moore as the interim city manager after the retirement of Norman McNichol. Please vote. That is approved with a vote of 5-0. We appreciate his willingness to serve and look forward to working with him as the interim. Councilors, anything further? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the Stillwater City Council. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, Storders City Council is now adjourned, and that concludes our meetings for the evening.